Responsibility. We all love to raise our children to be a responsible kids, and we all want to live in a society where everyone are raised to be accountable, and in a world where adults do not forget their civic obligations, and we want everyone to be responsible. If you're already parent, you probably know that teaching responsible behavior is one of the most important thing for little children, and we want them to become a responsible adult. But it's one of the biggest challenges as well. So what is responsibility? The origins of the term responsibility are found in the Latin word responsum, which consists of the relationship of a subject with his or her obligation. Responsibility is the awareness about the consequences that everything we do or stop doing has on ourselves and others surrounding us. Responsibility is one of the most essential and most important values because a responsible person in his adult life can achieve his goals and objectives by fulfilling his duties, obligations, and actions or strategies assigned by different means to achieve what is desired in his life. A little further back in life, a little one, the child who is responsible will be able to fulfill his school duties excellently. This will allow him to carry his grades well and be in a healthy environment conducive to acquiring more and more knowledge that serves him for his adult life. In addition, they learn to live autonomously and develop resilience, says Fernando Mello, a social programming analyst in the area of education. When responsibility is promoted in children, we will be helping them to have a better future based on the achievement of their own goals. A responsible person is very well regarded in society, and unfortunately, it is a value that is increasingly lost. People are late for their appointments, fail to fulfill their commitments, and do not finish their work and situations, so they put personal life at risk. Teaching a little kid responsibility will help him evolve into a responsible, credible adult who holds himself and his decisions accountable at all times. It is essential to promote in children a passion for responsibility from the early age, so they learn to accept responsibility for their own behavior, their thoughts and words, and be conscious all the time. It is a process that develops mainly from childhood to adolescence. So it is very important for us to start early to instill those responsible behaviors in our children. Before we look into strategies to develop responsibility in our children, let's keep our heads straight. Many parents confuse the term responsibility with the term obedience. I'll try and explain these two concepts to understand the difference between the two, responsibility and obedience. Obedience simply refers to situations in which parents want their children to do what they are asked to do, just obey, without questioning their authority. It's just more authoritative and just giving them instruction and expecting them to do whatever we say. And as they grow older, we'll be assigning more different tasks on them, which they will have to fulfill just because it is their obligation. But on the other hand, responsibility is a value that is related to conscience. Responsibility allows us to reflect on the consequences of everything that we do or stop doing on ourselves and others. In particular, when we teach a child to be more responsible, we are helping them to be more autonomous, to have more incredible willpower and believe in themselves and be disciplined. These aspects are the fundamental for little one to grow up happy and become a good human, a responsible human. The sense of responsibility is acquired through experience and practice, and people learn to be responsible or not to be one from early childhood. For this reason, it is essential to incorporate small tasks, obligations and duties or something into our children's life on an everyday basis. The sense of responsibility can be trained through every single day in a straightforward situations which occur at home or at school. Or giving responsibility to little ones will make them understand they play a fundamental role in a given action. Whether it can be a simple task at home or a big project at school, it doesn't really matter, but it makes them feel proud and they will understand how important their role is in completing the task, and they will also realize that the lack of that value, the responsibility, will have consequences that they don't want to happen. In this way, a child understands that it is a unique value, and all of this happens in a process that occurs as your child grows, and it's related to the environment, his personal development skills and limits, and not necessarily to the age group. So don't compare how responsible your child is with another child or colleague or siblings. It is only going to ruin the situation and definitely not going to make the child responsible. Raising children is a long-term task requiring dedication from both the parents and teachers and the environment, the community. And to foster a sense of responsibility in children, it's advisable to start by gradually training them into that commitment, trying to get children to take charge of situations and little tasks within their possibilities, like just clearing up their room or setting up a table or organizing their backpack or wardrobe. It can start from little things. Definitely, instilling responsibility in kids is not a complicated thing at all. It is the most rewarding job, in fact. And here are some ways to get started with instilling that responsible feeling in your child. Number one, awareness and the value of responsibility. We have to teach them and make them understand what responsibility actually means and what is the real value. And we have to be clear in our expectations. We have to assign them responsibilities at home and making sure it's appropriate for their age and abilities. And we have to let them know of their duties. They have to be clear, that is what is expected out of them. Understanding of the value of responsibility will itself make them feel proud and responsible and will make them do more. Number two, autonomy. Give them the freedom to choose their own tasks. Even as adults, there are certain things that we totally dislike to do any day. I'm sure everyone will have something like that. When you force them to do a task that they really dislike, it's just going to make the situation really worse, and it's going to hinder their responsibility and their development. Giving them the tasks that are simple and they really like to do it and it's easy to do for their age and abilities will boost their confidence, and it will definitely increase their self-worth and self-esteem, which are very, very key in developing their emotional intelligence. They have to feel worth about themselves. Number three, teach, train, and encourage. Though some tasks may seem simple to us, but it is definitely not a simple thing for little minds to do. Even though they have watched us do the same thing millions of times before, it still doesn't matter. It's just because they were simply present with us and enjoying the company with us. They did not pay attention to detail on the task. Hence, a child might simply say no just because they didn't know or how or what to do with the assigned task. So do not assume they already know how to do it. Explain and take time to teach them how to complete a task that you have assigned to them, and do it along with them so they learn how to do it from you by watching you, and encourage them as they try doing it on their own. Number four, appropriateness. Most of the time we think about the good and the bad things and we forget about the appropriateness. We have to ensure that we give them the right tasks according to their age. Test and trial before you assign any tasks to them, and assign only when you are sure that they will be able to do it on their own. Number five, create an integrity culture in your household. Your family's culture represents your beliefs, desires, guidelines, and aspirations. If you want your child to be responsible, each member of the family must be liable for their own decisions and actions and attitudes. Everyone must take accountability for their own actions and follow the family's rules, guidelines, and expectations. No one in the family should change the rules to accommodate to their own wishes or emotions. 90% of the time, all the failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. So never give excuses to yourself, because the children are watching us and learning from us. When we start giving excuses, they will learn from us, and they will also try to give excuses when they are given the responsibility. Number 6, very, very, very important, step away. Yes, step away from the task that your child is already capable of doing it on their own. Do not step in to help them under any circumstances. Refrain from making excuses or rescuing the child from their shortcomings. When you step in for those tasks that they are already capable of, you're just making them lazy, and this will make them look for help all the time to complete a particular task. So step away. Give them enough time and space to think and act, and only step in when you really, really have to teach them, and without your help the child will not be able to complete the task. Otherwise, step away and watch them. Number 7, increase their awareness of the potential consequences. As adults, we all know, like, for every action there is a reaction, there is a consequence. That's why we really wanted to be responsible to avoid those bad consequences from happening. So it is our responsibility to make our children understand the potential bad consequences that can happen from their actions. Responsibility is accepting that we are the cause and the solution of a particular situation. We have to make them understand this. Your child can make mistakes from time to time, unintentionally or sometimes with intention, purposefully. They just want to break the rules. We just have to make sure that their bad decisions will have adverse effects, and teach them about the logical and the natural consequences that can happen because of their actions. When the child understands that there is something bad is going to happen because of this action, obviously they will want to be more responsible and complete the task. Making them understand about these natural consequences will always act as the strongest prompt for them to make a wise and wonderful decision the next time in the future. We cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind around us, but we can definitely change ourselves. Let's teach our kids to take personal responsibility and increase their self-abilities and self-esteem and self-worth.